Pitt is dead in the ACC. Clemson is not. They just look like it sometimes. Tigers survive over the Panthers in Pittsburgh 24-20. Welcome into the Voice of College Football, breaking down the game you all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's get to the action. And much of it for Clemson has to do with the offensive line. Trouble spot the entire season. And also, of course, the special teams. We will get to that in just a second. Second play of the game, true freshman Elijah Thurman went down, and Dabo Swinney confirmed at halftime that he is now out for the season. Two offensive linemen down for Clemson in this game. They had to shift guys around. They had 4 of the 5 playing out of position. The Clemson plan was pretty easy to see and confirmed on the broadcast. Get the ball out of Cade Klubnik's hands immediately because of the offensive line issues. Plus, Pitt is number 5 in the nation in sacks. They are always among the nation leaders in sacks. So that was the game plan. Sammy Brown, R.J. Mickens, 2 of the best defenders in the country, would not finish this game for the Clemson Tigers. Cade Klubnik had a fumble early in the game, but the Clemson defense shut it down immediately, forcing the Panthers on a 3-and-out. Kyle Lewis on the defensive side for Pitt, one of the best in the business at linebacker, leads the nation with 4 INTs. Cade Klubnik to Antonio Williams for the game's first score. It was a beautifully thrown slant play for 7-0 Clemson. 8 plays, 93 yards on the drive for the Tigers. Des Reed, have you seen him play? You should check him out. He is one of the best, most shifty, elusive, dynamic backs in college football. Little guy for Pitt, raced 43 yards with a wide receiver, getting the seal, and Jaden Lucas whiffed on the tackle again. Reed goes for 43 yards. Daniel Carter cleaned it up with the touchdown run after Avion Terrell was called for pass interference and set up Pitt at 1st and goal. So we had a 7-7 ball game at that point. Nate Yarnell, the starting quarterback for Pitt. Of course, he's the backup quarterback on the depth chart. Eli Holstein, knocked out of 2 consecutive games, could not make it for this one. So this is Yarnell's first start for the Panthers in 2024, although he is the previous starter for this Pitt football team. 34 of 54. 54 passes for a Pitt football team is not the formula with Nate Yarnell at the helm. 350 yards, and most of that came late in the ball game. Kanata Mumfield was missed on a 3rd down conversion, was key in the first half. First quarter stats told you so much about this game early on, at least. Clemson passed for 133, Pitt 36. Pitt rushed for 52, Clemson only for 13. That was in the first quarter. Klubnik, so more efficient this season, so much more efficient in 2024 versus 2023. He has just learned a lot. He is just a more confident quarterback. You can see it, and you can see it in the stats. His QBR this season, entering the game, 78. Last season, 55. 252 yards passing per game this season coming into the game, and that would increase 218 last year. The TD to pick ratio for Klubnik, 19-9 last season. It was raised to 27-4 after this ball game in Pittsburgh. Hit Antonio Williams again. This time Williams was wide open, 14-7 after Klubnik had hooked up with Bryant Wesco for 45 yards. And so 2 plays covered 72 yards for the Clemson passing game, and they led 14-7. It looked like Clemson might have the kind of game that they had in earlier outings against the likes of NC State and App State as they were ripping up the Panthers secondary in the passing game, but Pitt would clamp it down real soon. Daniel Carter, 60-year player who scored that initial touchdown for Pitt, unfortunately carted off the field after 4 carries for 31 yards. Clemson kicked a field goal. Big deal, right? No, for Clemson, they kicked a field goal, and they celebrated at the end of the first half. They made it 17-7. Dabo Swinney made a big deal about it during the halftime conversation with Molly McGrath. And I got to say, Dabo Swinney, in a number of ways, is the most amusing, the most interesting coach in college football. And that includes halftime interviews, as he basically said, you know what, the boys at ESPN can take the halftime off. I can take it from here. I'll analyze our first half. It was actually enjoyable. It was. Most of those halftime interviews, I've got no use for it. It's the standard stuff. We got to convert on third down. We got to stop the run. We got to clean up our mistakes. That's what we're going to do at halftime. But Dabo explained things, and he was happy about the made field goal and a 10-point lead. Also noted during the broadcast, this is quite intriguing. Every hold on every Clemson kick since the 2016 National Championship game, in which they held for the game-winning kick, of course, Hunter Renfrow, Deshaun Watson, everyone has been made by a Sweeney, meaning Dabo Sweeney's sons have converted the hold for every kick for the Clemson Tigers since 2016. That's pretty remarkable. All right, back to the ball game here. Yarnell, again, his first start since 2024, and he looked lousy in relieving Holstein last week, 4 for 12, but he played much better after a rough start to the ball game. Drilled a 40-yarder to Des Reed, who did it not just out of the backfield, but as a pass receiver. Although TJ Parker, right after that on the next play, with a strip sack. Keep in mind that Pitt a few games ago against Cal lost their All-ACC redshirt senior left tackle Branson Taylor. That was Clemson's 6th sack of the ball game. I believe they finished with 8 on the day. They got the fumble recovery after the strip sack by TJ Parker by Jaheim Lawson at the Pitt 46. Ashton Hampton with a nice pass breakup. Pitt had 9 drops against Virginia. I lost count in this game. It was pretty substantial. The Pitt wide receivers need to step up, but at this point, there's only 2 games to play. Klubnik, 20 of 26 in the first half, 242 yards. But in the second half, the Pitt defense came to play. We talked about the pass rush, and the pass rush was relentless in the second half after those first initial successful drives by Clemson in the first half. Klubnik, 20 of 26 in the first half, 7 of 15 in the second half, only threw for 46 yards as, get this, Clemson went 24 plays in the second half for 52 yards before one key play we'll get to in just a second. Pitt drove it down the field, trailing 17-7. This was a key sequence right here. 11 minutes left in the ball game. Pitt goes 17 plays, 68 yards. Beautiful drive. They had a 1st and goal at the 2. Could not punch it into the end zone. Settled for the field goal. 17-10 Clemson lead. Again, the Clemson offense in the second half, non-existent. Rashad Battle with a key pass breakup for Pitt on a 3rd down play with 10.5 minutes left. Bartholomew, the Pitt tight end who could have left for the NFL, had back-to-back catches. And this was, again, after Sammy Brown was ejected for targeting. And Bartholomew got those catches on Brown's replacement, D. Creighton. And the back-to-back catches led to a touchdown that made it 17-all with 7 minutes left to play. Horrible roughing the passer call against Pitt's Nate Matlack gave Clemson new life, converted a 3rd down play there. That was huge to extend the drive. Also, Phil Maffa picked up a 1,000-yard season, so congratulations to Phil Maffa. But this was tough sledding, probably his worst game performance due to the offensive line and the Pitt prowess up front on defense. Get this stat line for the Clemson running back, 17 carries for 17 yards. He did, though, eclipse 1,000 yards here in 2024 to become the 18th Clemson running back to eclipse 1,000 yards in a season for the 24th time overall. But Jimmy Scott tracks down Phil Maffa on a pitch play on 4th and 1 at midfield with 4.5 minutes left that set up Pitt in fine fashion. So we got a 17-all game. Clemson at midfield. They went with the pitch because they could not run between the tackles against this Pitt front 4. So they go for the pitch play. Maffa gets tracked down by Jimmy Scott. And then Creighton had a hit on the head to Yarnell that was not called initially. I'm not going to go through the theatrics, but just to say that this ball game was out of control from an official standpoint. They finally got the call right. Now, Pitt was obviously trying to score a touchdown to take a substantial full score lead, but there he is, TJ Parker once again with the 7th sack for Clemson, pushed Pitt back to the 29, which forced the field goal, but Pitt did take the lead at 20-17 at about 3.5 minutes left to play. And then the one play that Clemson needed in the second half basically shut down for the entire second half, 0 points, but down 20-17. Cade Klubnik gets loose for a 50-yard touchdown run with 1:16 on the clock. 24-20 Clemson turned the game around. Pitt comes back, though, 10 plays, 73 yards in the final 1:16. So the Clemson defense did not clamp it down immediately. Again, Yarnell, very impressive in going 73 yards in less than a minute. However, stopped in the red zone. So Clemson hangs on for the win to go to 8-2. They're 7-1 in the ACC. So in the clubhouse with 2 games left to play against the Citadel and at home against South Carolina. For Pitt, they're done in the ACC at 3-3, 7-3 overall. Your thoughts about the Clemson chances in the ACC? They need Miami to falter in the final 2 games to make it to the ACC championship game. Your thoughts, your comments down below, right here at the Voice of College Football.